This is MTGCommander. When we're here with Zach.
What's up?
And yeah, this is his Teneb, the Harvester deck. Here we go. Teneb, he's got it all foiled out. Most of his cards are foiled, so his deck is really prime. So he's gonna start with his lands, I believe. Yeah?
Yep.
Alright, cool. Let's see him, man.
Alright, so here are the basics. I run 2 swamps in the deck. Nothing big. You'll see why after. 4 forests. It's generally, I run a lot of non-basics, as you can probably tell by now if I've only showed 6 lands basic lands so far. And then 4 plains as well. So that's all I really need for the basic lands. I don't really need that many. And here's why. Okay, so for my non-basics, here are the 3 original dual lands that I can use in the deck. So 1 Savannah, 1 Bayou, and 1 Altered Scrubland.
Where'd you get the Altered Scrublands from?
I got it online on MTGSalvation.com. There was someone selling a large collection of altered arts, and the Scrubland was on sale for $40. So I decided to pick it up, thinking it was a good deal.
That's pretty good. You've got a Bayou. Awesome. What else do you got?
Okay. So after that, I have the 3 Shocklands that I can run: a Godless Shrine, Overgrown Tomb, and Temple Garden. So
that's pretty nice.
Of course, for consistency, I need those as well to improve on the amount of mana that I can get out of my deck quickly and play whatever spells I want. So after that, I run all 3 filters that I can run: Fetid Heath, Twilight Mire, and Wooded Bastion. Of course, I need those again for filtering mana. If I'm screwed on white or black or green, these are there. Perfectly good for utility to make them work.
Yeah, they're good cards. They're good cards. Can't go wrong with filter lands.
After that, I run the 3 bounce lands. A lot of people question the use of bounce lands normally in other formats, such as Standard, when they were in Standard and when they were in Extended, and of course Legacy and Vintage. In EDH, since the format is slower, you don't have to worry about the tempo loss of bouncing a land to your hand and having these come into play tapped. So they're generally much more useful in EDH than they would be in any other format.
So you're not really concerned about tempo loss from them at all?
Not at all.
You've never found it to be a problem?
No, not one bit.
That's pretty good.
So then I run the only M10 land that I can run in the deck, Sunpetal Grove. Of course, they haven't released any enemy-colored ones, but the second they do, those 2 are going to be going into my deck as well.
Do you think they will release?
I hope so. Now that the blocks are smaller, it's going to be kind of hard to judge whether they actually decide to do it or not. Hopefully they do. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say.
So those other lands you got there?
Yes, they are.
Alright, let's
so for my next land, it's Reflecting Pool. Yeah. Of course, it produces any mana of any land that I can produce, so it's great. Most of the time in my deck, it just pretty much reads tap, add 1 mana of any color to my mana pool. So it's really good for me, and it's probably one of the #1 cards I decide to tutor up.
Yeah, Reflecting Pool is very good in any multicolor deck.
So the next one is, of course, Cabal Coffers. Since I'm playing a black deck, generally it's a must. I run a couple of spells that have a CMC of X in the deck anyway, so I might as well just be able to bang out the biggest spell that I can and win the game immediately.
That's pretty good.
So I only run 1 fetch line in the deck, and that's Verdant Catacombs. It's tap, pay 1 life, sacrifice it, search for a forest or a swamp. So in this situation, I can search for a lot of dual lands as well, since it doesn't specifically say basic on it. So if I need them, I'll go search out a dual land, and they'll come into play. After that, I got my Boseiju. In the meta that I play in, there's a lot of control. So of course, Boseiju is one of the best ways to let all of my big spells come out without any worry about any Forces of Will or Last Words or even just basic counterspell.
You're not worried about the pay 2 life?
I'm not worried about the pay 2 life at all. I haven't found it a big problem, and in a format where we play with 40 life, I don't really have to worry about it that much.
So you find that this card comes in handy a lot more than it?
Definitely.
Alright, cool. Strip
Mine. Probably one of the best lands in EDH. Taps to add a colorless, not that good, but the fact that it can destroy any land that I want is great for getting rid of stuff such as Academy Ruins, Gaia's Cradles, and Serra Sanctum.
Yeah, it's a good card.
Yeah. Then Vesuva, also another legendary land killer, and if not, I'll use it to copy a Cabal Coffers or a Maze of Ith, if possible. It's always good to have. Having 2 Mazes of Ith out really puts a squeeze on opponents, and having 2 Cabal Coffers out generally pretty much reads I win the game if I land any giant spells. Maze of Ith, of course, amazing utility land, taps, stops any creature from attacking, and all damage from it is prevented. It's probably one of the best lands that you can run in EDH, and I think every deck should run it, and if they don't, you should probably get your hands on one as fast as possible. So, Mystifying Maze, again, another utility land. One of the reasons why I run this is because a lot of people also use auras and some creatures that gain control of creatures that I control. So, of course, if they decide to use it against me, I just exile the attacking creature and it comes back onto my side of the field at the end of turn. Also, it's just really good to stop big creatures from swinging at me.
That's a good card.
Island of Whack Whack, it's a card that some people like to use and some people don't. It's not as good as Maze of Ith because it only reduces the target creature's with flying's power to 0 instead of just removing any creature from combat. So this is slightly different. Of course, it's good if your opponent's swinging at you with a really big creature such as a Chroma or something like that. You use the Island of Whack Whack, reduce it to 0, and then you can still block to kill the other creature, but in general, this is probably one of the one of my favorite cards to drop against a deck with a lot of flying.
Yeah, it's good.
So next is a really good utility land, Yavimaya Hollow. Taps for colorless, and I use it mainly for the other clause, which is regenerate a creature. A lot of people in our format, or in our meta for where we are, also don't use a lot of like Wrath of Gods and Damnations and other spells that have the can't be regenerated clause on it. So of course I use this to regenerate my Teneb or another one of my big creatures that I think is really useful. And last but not least, Urborg Tomb of Yawgmoth. I use that. It makes all of my lands swamps in addition to their other types, so it makes Cabal Coffers one of the most obscene lands that I can have out at once, and it generally generates anywhere between 10 to 15 mana after an Urborg comes out. Yep, it's